If you're even remotely familiar with anything that has to do with power or melodic metal, you must have heard of them one way or another. They're one of the few bands in the USA that can compete with the European top of the genre, and for good reason. This is Camelot and why they're awesome. Camelot is one of the first bands that I discovered once I had entered the world of power metal back in 2006. Among the first songs that I heard were Center of the Universe, Forever and The Haunting. Right away they captivated me with their energetic sound and magnificent vocals from former vocalist Roy Khan. Not long after that, the album Ghost Opera was released, and I've been following their releases closely ever since. Weird as it may sound, Camelot is a band that had a certain era that nobody ever seems to talk about. The first two albums, Eternity and Dominion, are recorded with their first vocalist Mark Vanderbilt and seem to be from a whole different band altogether. The songs from those albums can't be found in their setlist for ages now, and if you mention these albums to any casual Camelot fan, they are hardly aware that these even exist. Wait, what? They had a singer before Roy Khan? Their third album, Siege Perilous, although with Khan at the vocals, also seems to be lost through the ages most of the time. The stuff that Camelot is known and loved for starts with their fourth album, The Fourth Legacy. Camelot is a band that never stayed in one corner. They started off as your average medieval influenced power metal band, but slowly became much more than that. The Fourth Legacy has some Arthurian legend charm, while the next installment, Karma, focuses more on gothic and Victorian poetry, like the Elizabeth Bathory story. Epica, yes, the same album where the band with the same name got the name from, is more about our place of life in the universe, and the Black Halo goes back to the gothic poetry bit, but a bit more gloomy than what they did before. After this, it all gets really interesting, because Ghost Opera was a huge leap forward and Camelot's sound got more gothic and ghostly and symphonic. The last traces of traditional power metal were pretty much gone, and here's the point where Camelot truly became unique. I really have to say, in all the years that I have been a fan of this kind of music, I have yet to discover something that is so dark and energetic and theatrical and vivacious as Camelot became right here. Poetry for the Poisoned came along as a logical follow-up, but it had something even darker than anything they've ever done before. The cover art is already something out of a horror story, and so were the songs on this album. It had this raw edge to it that makes the whole thing quite odd, and it was also the last one with Roy Khan. I remember when I heard he left the band, I was genuinely worried about the future of Camelot. Khan has an amazing, one-of-a-kind voice, and I just couldn't imagine there was anyone else who could top that. Enter Tomi from Sweden. Known from his previous band Seven Wonder, where he uses a very different vocal style than he does in Camelot. With Camelot he managed to give new life to the haunting, low and velvet vocals that Khan made the band's trademark over time. With some songs I can hardly tell the two apart, to be honest. Tomi is a prime example of a successor chosen right. With Tomi at the helm, they continued with Silverthorn, a concept album focusing on modern Victorian romance themes, but in a quite different fashion than with Karma. This album is, for that matter, a very nice point in comparison on how Camelot approached a similar theme in two different eras. With their older albums, they played in a style that was at fashion at that time. But as musical styles develop, Camelot developed along with it, and in my humble opinion, they only got better with each album. Letting go of the historical themes, their latest album Haven is more of a post-apocalyptic soundtrack, but still 100% Camelot. They got heavier and more dynamic than ever, but without ever compromising on the melody. Each song still has this addicting melodic flow, as they always have, but as time moves on, Camelot only seems to get heavier and more daring. When it comes to the band themselves, I've been talking a lot about the singer already, but let's not forget the rest of the band as well. Drummer Casey Grillo is a pure beast, as metal drummers are supposed to be. Thomas Youngblood is a fantastic composer, and we have bass guitar dreadlock animal Sean Tibbetts. He is just laughably insane. And Oliver Palatai, he is just a genuine virtuoso. All in all, you can't find another band with the same sound and charisma and musical ingenuity and dynamic songs than Camelot. So, if you are a Camelot fan, tell me what you think it is that makes them so damn awesome. This was The Critic, once again pointing out the obvious actually, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye bye!